We are back inside City Hall, turning back to the race for mayor as the Democratic primary field is taking shape. Earlier this week, former Governor Andrew Cuomo announced his own entry into the race. And my next guest, City Council Speaker Adrienne Adams, made her campaign official as well just in the last 24 hours. The speaker says that she hopes to restore dignity and trust in leadership to our city. We are 100 days out from early voting, so there's a lot to get done, including petitioning and fundraising and much, much more. Adrienne Adams joins me now exclusively for her first TV interview since her campaign was launched. Welcome back to the program and congratulations.
Thank you so much.
What made the decision for you? I know a lot of people have been talking to you for at least a month about getting serious about this.
Yeah, well, I never planned to run for mayor. City Hall has been shaken. We have a president in Washington right now that is just spewing chaos all over the nation. New York has a target on its back. I cannot sit back and do nothing about it.
And to the extent that we have this target on our back, we have existing leadership. We have an existing mayor that you've gotten to know over the last several years. Why do we need to change mayors?
Well, in my opinion, the mayor is preoccupied, and it's caused a lot of preoccupation with New Yorkers. We can see it, we can hear it, we can feel it. New Yorkers are very, very tense right now about the condition of the city, particularly because of the issues that the mayor has surrounding him. So it is a feeling. It is a feeling of stress and anxiety. We realize also that the mayor also feels a lot of strength and anxiety. Who wouldn't? But it is trickling down into the lives of New Yorkers right now.
Let's fast forward to January, and you're being sworn in as the 111th mayor. What will you do differently that will signal to the city that we have a different, newer relationship with the Trump administration?
The tone is going to be to put New York first. I am one that is always, in my policy, in the way that I live, in the way that I act, it's to put New York first and not, my own selfish whatever premises. We've been working in the city council now for over a year. I've been working in the city council for almost a decade. Almost 4 of them has been leading the most diverse women majority in the history of the city of New York. And our legislation has proven that we will move New Yorkers' issues forward, not leave those issues on the back burners. We were facing so many things under this administration. Loss of library services, loss of our cultural services, loss of our education, early childhood education diminished. Places for people to live have been diminished through the loss of the city FEPS extension. So there are so many things that have been put on the back burners that New Yorkers are now feeling the pain. So day one, I am going to continue to move those things forward, but they will be even more palatable and expansive than they have been.
What would be your, say, top 2 or 3 priorities if elected?
Well, number one on everybody's list, everybody says housing. That's number one. We have got to move that. Under my fair housing framework, that was a law that I put into place last year, and it assures that every single district is doing just a little bit more of their share of development so that no one place or area should ever say that, not me, not me. There will be all of us dealing with this crisis. It is an immense crisis. We put forth our City of All, which went in partner with the City of Yes, which we had to do some work on to make sure that it was okay with places like Queens and parts of Brooklyn, parts of the Bronx, that it would be palatable, more palatable to those that are living there. We put forth more home ownership, and we assured and acquired an extra $5 billion to make sure that infrastructure was protected, that jobs were protected, that we were looking at NYCHAs and Mitchell-Lamas, so that we were not just pigeonholing this initial City of Yes proposal. We've expanded it now to include an all-inclusive item, if you will.
Okay, so housing. What about public safety?
Public safety is always at the top of everybody's list. It's very, very interesting because when you take a look at the statistics, crime itself has gone down in the city of New York, but we've got a big perception problem, and we're going to have to deal with that. At the top of that perception problem has to do with mental health issues. We're going to have to get very, very serious about working with those who have mental health issues. We need more psychiatric beds. We need more expansion in our mental health facilities. That has got to be priority. We need more supportive housing, which of course comes along with the whole housing expansion anyway. So those things are on the forefront. We have got to deal with this perception that crime is out of control in New York. It is not out of control in New York.
And to the extent that there are candidates in this race who are saying, we need to hire more cops, we need to deploy more cops in the subway and so forth, do you agree with that, or do you think there's a different way to use the resources?
I think that goes along with the perception. We want to make sure that New Yorkers are feeling comfortable. If that means placing more police officers where New Yorkers can see them, they can speak to them, they can get to know them. I am one who believes in police officers working with our community. We do a lot of that in Southeast Queens. We've got great relationships in a lot of places in Southeast Queens. I would like to see that happen more throughout the entire city. Some precincts don't work as well as others when it comes to community work. So I would most certainly want to make sure that the community was co-joined with their local police precincts so that we can do these things together.
Let's talk some politics. Politically, you have long been supported by and aligned with Congressman Gregory Meeks, the Queens Democratic leader. Is he supporting your candidacy?
The congressman is the congressman for the entire county. He is our leader. He has always supported everything that I do, so we can start there. As far as the expansive look at this race, I am still new into this entry into this race, and Queens, just like I'm sure a lot of other counties, are taking a look at everyone in this race right now to see where the chips fall.
Okay, so describe your path to victory. Politically, how do you get from here to Gracie Mansion?
Yeah, we are going to have a great operation. Our campaign is going to be getting that name recognition out there, because we know that we have been doing great work at City Hall, working for New Yorkers for all this time. But the bigger picture would be all of New Yorkers across my home in Queens, my home borough in Queens, Brooklyn, Staten Island, the Bronx, Manhattan. We want to make sure that we are talking to those voters that may not necessarily know the work of the council, may not necessarily know who Adrienne Adams is. So we are going to push the name Adrienne out there to make sure that people realize that there is an Adrienne. Our campaign is Adrienne for the people, not for Adrienne for Adrienne. But it is Adrienne for the people, because that is the philosophy that I live by. I am a wife, mother, grandmother, the first to be this thing in City Hall, and I expect to expand all of that hands-on when I win this race.
Okay, now how do you avoid the so-called speaker's curse? Every speaker of the city council in the modern era, since the big changes to the charter, has subsequently run for higher office. Peter Vallone ran for governor, and then he ran for mayor. Gifford Miller ran for mayor. On and on down the line. We've had candidates former speakers who ran for public advocate, who ran for controller. None of them have succeeded. How do you avoid that fate?
Yeah, I hear that all the time. I am I'm a different individual, so we'll start there. My approach is going to be, once again, to get out into the neighborhood so that people really understand who I am and can associate who I am with my name, with the fact that I am for the people. And we want to make sure that we get into those grassroots where I sharpened my teeth when it comes to community work at my community board. We want to get into those areas where people are. We're going to knock on those doors, and we're going to have people realize that there is, an Adrienne Adams that is different than another Adams currently in the office of the mayoralty. We want people to see us, to talk to our staff, and to know that we are there for the people.
With early voting starting in exactly 100 days, how do you avoid what I would describe as a Kamala Harris scenario, where you have a strong and popular candidate, starts relatively late in the process, and just runs out of time?
Yeah, we are ramping up very quickly, obviously, putting our operation in place very, very quickly. We are going to have to message this thing, because I think that part of the problem, and I was out there, as you know, campaigning for the former vice president, who was also my sorority sister. I want to say that also, Hi Alpha Kappa Alpha. But we've got to get our messaging right. And it's very different also when we're dealing with the local race compared to the national race. Hers was, there were different messaging and different leveraging of messaging. Donald Trump had a very, very specific thing. People seem to believe him as the everyday man. Why? We have no idea. He's everything but the everyday man. Kamala came out with, her story, but we've got to reach down into the kitchens, into the living rooms, into the dining rooms, into the dens, where people really live. That's where I come from, the middle class. That's where I live. So I am going to be reaching down to make sure people know my story, my message, how I live, and how I want to continue to serve this beautiful New York.
I know candidates like you get all kinds of side information and people giving you little anecdotes and so forth. I'll add mine,
Okay.
which is that the Cuomo team seems more worried about you than any of the other candidates. And I was wondering if you felt the same way about him.
No. No. We have our own race to run, and we will run them individually. I will run on my own merit. I've got a very strong record in leadership, both inside City Hall for almost a decade and in my own community. I will run on that. My community knows me, my community believes me, and I believe my community loves me as well. They feel what I feel because I've lived what they have lived. Other people's experiences may not necessarily parallel those experiences.
There are at least 3 candidates who have been accused of sexual harassment. In the case of the mayor, there are actual criminal charges pending. There are others. Do you think any of the candidates have something in their past that disqualifies them, that they just shouldn't be running at all?
Everyone is going to have to do that own self-evaluation, and the public is going to have to do that evaluation as well. So what we hope is that there is a reflection, but we also hope that truth comes out. There are people that have truths that have yet to be told. I am not here to judge anyone, but I am here to make sure that, like anyone else, that sexual misconduct and all of that is not a thing that we carry into the future, but something that we will look upon the past not to repeat.
That is an intriguing statement. You know, you just set a bunch of journalists, including in this building, wondering what truths are yet to be told that Adrienne Adams is referring to.
Those truths have yet to be seen, and I'm waiting for those truths to be told as well, Errol.
Okay, well, we will see you out on the campaign trail and perhaps the debate stage as well. Yeah. Best of luck with everything. Thanks for coming by.
Thanks very much.
Thank you for watching our YouTube channel. Let Spectrum News be your resource for balanced, in-depth political coverage, and click the subscribe button right here. You can also download our app or watch us on TV to learn more about the candidates, where they stand on the issues, and more. We'll see you then.